Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 5 topics, 8 minutes, 2 hosts, a guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, how are you?
Wow, I'm doing really well.
I'm
What
glad
a
to hear
week.
that.
What a week. Do you think things happened since the last time?
I feel
we were
like
on air?
in the last 2 weeks in particular, it's just been, I don't even know. It's enough fodder for like 8 seasons of West Wing. It's really crazy. I don't know.
Fantastic.
What are you drinking?
Water.
I am drinking a gin and tonic for this, our 100th episode of the 5-8. I don't know. 100 seems like a lot. It feels like a lot.
It feels like a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've had weeks off, and so that's a long time.
That's over 2 years.
That's a couple of years. Oh my God, I can't believe it. All right.
I know.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. We have a lot to...
I'm happy to be here with you for 100 episodes.
It is the highlight of my week, LB. Always the highlight of my week.
So nice.
Fun to spend the Friday night with you and with everybody watching at home, wherever home may be, whether in the United States or to a country that we may all move to when Donald Trump wins. Except he's not gonna.
He's not gonna win.
Not gonna.
No, Spoiler.
No. Oh yeah.
Spoiler.
Oh, it's gonna go down in flames.
God.
Yeah. He's going to spend after Jan. I don't know what he's going to do with himself. He's going to have no job. He's just going to spend, I guess, the rest of his life on the couch. I don't know. Sorry, wrong candidate.
He's going to have to turn those cushions over. Let me tell you. I don't want to hear about this man being such a germaphobe and then picking that guy.
I'm thinking about it, and it's been just all couch all the time. It's like, IKEA is sponsoring social media now. And what's funny to me is that everybody knows that the story's not true, and yet we're just all having fun with it anyway.
Yeah.
But it occurs to me that this is what they do all the fucking time. They just make some shit up and then they just push it, right? Except when they do it, it's mean-spirited and not as funny. So I feel like not bad at all. Not bad at all. I mean,
no, I'm so proud of the artful left.
Yes.
The folks that have an actual sense of humor, the people who actually, have talent, and education, and taste. Taste is big. I'm so proud of the tastemakers for rising up and getting into the troll game. Welcome. Thank you for coming and showing them how it's actually done when you have a little bit of talent, because we know they don't have a scooch of it.
Yeah, they don't. It's really, it's a sad state of affairs. And we're seeing that in real time.
That created the grievance.
We'll get to that later.
We'll get to it later.
All right, should we get started? We don't want to keep our guests waiting.
I don't want to keep our guests waiting too long at all. I've got the timer. We should say that we've named everything vibes because I think we're in a moment where it's all about the mood.
Yeah.
It's all about the mood, baby. It's a transformative mood moment.
And as Jalen Brunson says, the vibes are immaculate.
The vibes are immaculate.
They are.
All right. So what about the historical vibes?
Okay. I feel like in the past week, obviously, such a tumult of emotions. I mean, I think when I read the letter that Biden posted on Twitter, which was only Sunday, it feels like it was like a month ago. I really didn't expect that to happen. And even though I knew if it happened, it was going to happen on Sunday, but still I didn't expect it to happen. And I certainly didn't expect it to happen like that. And it went from being, oh shit, we're fucked. What are we going to do? To then like this magical thing where everybody just coalesced behind Kamala Harris as Biden told us to do. And, as I told you, when the money coming in, the donations coming in, and the endorsements coming in one after the other, it felt like the end of It's a Wonderful Life, where, everyone's just, this is great. And I just a complete 180 for the feelings. But I've been on such a a Kamala high all week, but
Yeah.
we need to right now on this show, especially since I've been talking about him so much, give Joe Biden his flowers,
Okay.
and set him, in historical context. One of the things that happens in the age of Trump is that the news moves so quickly that we just forget about, like, Trump literally, somebody tried to kill him 2 weeks ago. We've already forgotten about. That's how crazy the news travels, right? Shrapnel, but whatever. And as I said on this very show last week, and Christopher Wray of all people backing us up. Oh my God, simulation. Anyway, I feel like we need to pause and look at the job that Joe Biden did, where he came from, what the country looked like 4 years ago when he took over. I don't think anybody into the primary was like really excited about him as a candidate. I feel like, he was like the compromise candidate. I feel like, I wanted Kamala Harris. She dropped out. Okay, fine. We'll go with Joe. And I feel like a lot of people had similar things where other candidates jazzed them up, and Joe was just sort of like, whatever. He'll be fine. It'll be a transitional guy. He'll, whatever. It's fine. And at that time, we were in the middle of COVID, so he couldn't even campaign. There's all these Zoom things and people wearing masks and all that stuff. And, he goes to debate Trump, and Trump had COVID and literally tried to kill him by giving him COVID at the time.
Yeah.
All this happened. He won. And then we had J6, and we had the impeachment before we had the, him being sworn in at a time when, if I go back and read what I wrote then in January of 2021, I was afraid that they were going to try to kill him then. I was terrified of that. So that's where the country was. Nope, the vaccines had barely come out. Nobody had them yet in any great way. And he made that happen. He said it was going to be by July, and it was in April. And what he did, I think, when you go from there to where we are now, is astonishing. I thought he'd be fine. He's awesome. He was and remains an awesome, awesome president. I've said it 1,000 times. The best president of my lifetime. And you just have to think about where we were and where we are now. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Every single human is. Like, I don't think there's anybody that isn't, that maybe, I don't know. I guess Trump, maybe, I don't know. But it's that just the pieces of legislation. You've got the rescue plan, the American Rescue Plan, which got all the money in, and the vaccines. Remember going to get the vaccine that was free and how great it felt that science was helping us. We go outside.
Yeah.
The bipartisan infrastructure law, which you see signs for now everywhere. The Safer Communities Act, which is the first meaningful gun regulation in 30 years. The PACT Act, which helped the toxic exposed vets. The Respect for Marriage Act, which enshrined these marriage laws that fucking Project 2020 is trying to take away. Inflation reduction. And then you have other stuff that he did. We have an over-the-counter, birth control pill coming. That's him. That happened. Renewable power is now the second most thing that we have in the country right now is renewables. That's him. That's a big climate change thing. The junk fees and the overdraft charges, he went against that. He pardoned everybody that in a federal case that is in jail for marijuana possession, and is reforming all the weed laws. There's the microchip production that he dragged back from China. He's the most pro-labor president in a very long time, maybe ever. He's super pro-union. Oil production is up. He's going on to the cyber safety. He put, Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court.
Yes.
That's also Kamala Harris. On his way out the door. Just here's a parting gift for you. That's like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And that's not even the foreign policy stuff, which is Trump spent 4 years, kissing Putin's ass, trying to break NATO, which is responsible for the entire Pax Americana and the fact that there have been no wars in Europe since 1945. Trump's, just a bull in the china closet trying to destroy this thing. Biden sews it all up together in like 2 weeks, unifies everybody with the Ukraine stuff, pulls out of Afghanistan, which people can quibble about that. I think it was a good move, and I don't know that any other president would even attempt to do that. So you look at all those things in 3.5 years, he did all of that stuff. And it's remarkable. And given the attacks, the constant fucking attacks by Trump and the MAGA and the media that's in the bag for Trump this entire time, and we still have, insurrectionists running around free in the country that Biden has had to deal with this entire time.
In the Congress.
Yeah, in the Congress. It's maddening. So he overcame all of that stuff, as well as, by the way, his age and his stutter. I don't know if anybody heard this, but he has a stutter and he's old. I don't know if you knew that.
I mean, yeah. And the student loan debt forgiveness.
The student loan debt forgiveness. I skipped over that on my list. So you look at historical rankings of presidents, you put it in tiers. Tier 1 is Lincoln, Washington, and FDR in some order. You can figure out which order you like. It's one of those three. Tier 2 is Jefferson and Teddy Roosevelt. Roosevelt probably 4 and 5. Then you have tier 3, which is Truman and Eisenhower. I put Biden right there. I think he's right in that tier with those guys. I think he's better than anybody else that we've had. Wow. And I think 50 years from now, people are going to look back and be like, holy shit, this guy. Because not only is he good in the moment, the things that he's doing are setting up the United States to gain and benefit from things like this 20 years down the line. So we haven't even seen all the stuff that he's accomplished yet. And we're not going to until probably he's dead, honestly. And then people will be like, oh my God, this guy. So, and we didn't want him to leave. As you know, on this show, we were very pro Biden staying for a variety of reasons. But he left, and he left in the best possible fucking way possible. He didn't have a press conference. He didn't give any more attention to the media. He just left. He said, this is it. And he endorsed Kamala on the way out the door, and then made sure that everybody jumped on that train. And that's where we are now. So
that's where we are now. And it's a great transition right into the future vibes, right? Which is what that mic drop moment, which came a little bit after. So in between the I'm resigning, I tweeted instantly. I was like, we're fucked, because he would have won that election. And I was so pissed at this coup to get him out, and just the backstabbing and just the disgustingness around how it was being done, and what was this, that you can't get together as a party and just even do what you just did. It took you only 8 minutes, and it was a little less than that because you had some little talking in the beginning of it was probably just took you 5 minutes to go through. Come on. Can support this guy. So I was just livid. And then boom.
Yeah.
Right? Here's the future. It was just like, and here we go.
Yeah.
Because he knew all of these people that were shivving him from their own party, the media, all of it. They don't know what he knew. He knew one and knows who Kamala Harris is.
Yep.
And what the leader that he chose to be at his side. He knew what she's capable of, clearly. Right? And he knows us. He knows his base. He knows it better than anyone, I think, that came before. I think Obama tapped into something that everybody wanted. And so we ended up with this huge base around Obama. Joe, it's the wisdom, it's the age, it's the years, it's what happened in South Carolina in the primaries in the last election. He knew what would happen when he said, because there was all this thing. We had AOC saying to us, I'm in these rooms and they want him out, but they're not saying Kamala. They're not saying her.
Yeah.
And so he knew what would happen when he, and how dare they think, oh no, we have a ticket. It's Biden and Harris. We want her.
Yep.
Fuck off. I say to those people, still, we want her. And he knew that. Wow.
Yep.
What a week.
What a week.
What a week.
Did you do the timer? Did you do the timer?
Yeah, it's going. So thank you, Joe Biden, for the future. Thank you for the future vibes. And that's what I think we're all feeling. And so I just wanted to acknowledge what we're all feeling, because now we're getting the same old crotchety white guys that were like out to get him, including like coming and saying, well, your enthusiasm is, like mansplaining to us. Because women, this is a huge moment for us. This is a huge moment for all women. It just is. We can see it. She's the one. And so deserving of our support and our enthusiasm
and
our joy. And I don't need crotchety old men coming in and stomping on that joy. It's unifying everyone. Now, I was on the call for white women, and I know there's all this, this is racist. We're getting that around the calls, like the Black women for Kamala rose up immediately, knew to organize a call. They knew what to do, and they set the pace. They said, okay, we're going to lead. This is what we do. We're all getting together. We're going to raise money, and blew the lid off the place, right? Then Black, right? We're going to show you. And it was like, it set this energy, right? And then white women. Why? Because it's not that it's coming from us to segment one another, right? It's coming from everything we've heard from these fucking pundits and everyone else on how they poll people in the demographics and then say, okay, Trump won because of white women. Well, why don't we show you who we are and what we're going to do? Since you've created that, let's get together and show you actually who we are and what's going to happen with us. So it's not coming from inside. It's coming from externally segmenting us. So I don't want to hear that we're somehow engaging in your crap. We're not. We're saying, okay, let us show you. And now we're going to have hopefully a call with white men for Harris, right? And I've put this thing out. Here's your future vibe. You guys better raise more money than us, that there's difference in pay equity. You got to be at least 30% over what was just raised.
I hope Clooney is in there.
Hey, he better fucking be in there.
Yeah. Don't blame the Wi-Fi in Lake Como. Get your ass in there, George.
Get your ass in there.
Yeah.
You can give $1 million to all of your friends in a briefcase for a cute little stunt. You can give a few million to Kamala Harris. Let's go.
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
Let's go. So anyway, I don't want anybody to stomp on their joy or listen to people that are stomping on you. Just dismiss that. The joy and the hope and the enthusiasm is what is uniting us and giving this whole thing the energy and momentum it needs so that we can have our first woman president. And the best person. I don't care. You take Biden off the chessboard and look around. There is nobody more qualified and in a better position and better suited and more fit to be president of the United States than Kamala Harris. Doesn't have to do with her sex. Doesn't have to do with her race. Doesn't have to do with any of that. She's vice president.
Yep.
She's in there. We want their agenda. She is the ticket.
Yeah.
She has the experience. The team is in place. It's go time. So I'm thrilled. I'm enthusiastic. I gave money. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to organize. I'm ready to do all of that. All of that being said, I do think there's a point about to keep into our vibe bucket, right? For the future, to keep going with this, we cannot take our eyes off of these people. Do not underestimate the adversary. They have a 900-page plan and 6 Supreme Court justices in place to strip us of everything.
Yep. To
take away our freedoms and install a monarch. So we cannot, and a Harris campaign is leading the way of focusing on not just the kinds of people that are the architects behind this stuff, how weird they are, how abnormal they are, how depraved they are. These are the pieces of humanity that we're supposed to eject from having lording over us, right? These are no, you don't get to, these are not the people. They have their life, but you don't get to, these aren't the people that have given any sort of power over an open society in a democratic society at all. No, we rejected them when we were kids at the cafeteria table for a fucking reason. Get out. Right? And I say that not to encourage bullying, but to say, these are the bullies.
Yeah. It's a whole party of bullies. MAGA is bully. That's what it is.
These are the schoolyard bullies.
Yeah.
This is it. And they didn't get what they wanted in their adolescence. It froze them there. And it's only a party of grievance. It's a movement of grievance. That's what it is. And it's there to punish. That's it. And we deserve better as a nation. We just deserve so much better. And like every abuser, don't underestimate what type of weapons and fists they've got hidden and they're coming and bringing out. Don't underestimate how much time they spend thinking of ways to actually abuse us and assert power over us. It's their whole existence is this. So the attacks, yes, the attacks are coming. I don't let that racist and sexist stuff happen. You know, we just call it out. Oh, that's racist. Because everybody can see it. We don't need to waste our time and our energy on that. We've got to have Kamala's back. We've got to have one another's backs. We need to reject it. We don't tolerate intolerance. But our focus and attention must be on not just what we want going forward, but what these adversaries are up to prevent our votes being counted, to overthrow a certified election with the Supreme Court, to all of it, to chip away and stab at stuff, using the courts before we even get to the election and during the transition period. We just cannot take our eyes off of them. And I don't want them to determining where our focus goes. We're not going to follow their agenda of chasing shiny objects and being deflected from what we've got to focus on. The more we can stay on that, the more these calls, this fundraising, the mobilization, everything that's happening now that's going to continue to happen and only gain momentum all the way through the election, it's going to carry a message with it of not just we're here, we support you, this is what we want for our future, but this is what we see happening, and we need to make sure you're doing something about it. Communicate to us what you're doing about this. Please, right? We're an army for a reason. That's it. That's my future vibes. I like all that energy forward. I think we're going to be okay.
Okay, real quick, because I don't want to keep our guests waiting.
I don't want to keep our guests waiting either.
You're right about everything you said. Heritage is planning something. Kevin Roberts has said as much. Here's the thing, okay, for people that feeling afraid of this. Joe Biden is president until January 20th. So whatever fuckery is happening, he's still president for that fuckery. The person that's going to certify the votes in early January is the it's Kamala Harris. Oh. Okay, that's it. And also, if we win the popular vote and the electoral vote, and they try some sort of Supreme Court fuckery, Joe Biden has immunity and he can arrest them for, whatever, seditious conspiracy. Just go arrest Thomas and Alito and Kavanaugh and anybody that votes for that shit for seditious conspiracy and call it a day, because they gave him the power to do that. So there's lots of they're trying their little shit. We have a lot of shit we can try too. We have the numbers and we have the brains and we have the art and we have the fucking White House right now and immunity in the White House. So I'm not really that afraid of the weirdos. That's what I have to say. And speaking of weirdos, I wonder who Kamala Harris is going to pick for vice president, but I don't wonder who Trump is going to pick.
J.D. Vance is a puppet. He is owned by Peter Thiel. And if Thiel says dance, then Vance is gonna dance or go in on Stop the Steal. He's a fraud and a phony, and a fascist and a creep. Not a real hillbilly, eyeliner is silly, disastrous pick for Veep. J.D. Vance hates the ants with no kids and 4 cats. J.D. Vance is Comic Sans and Kamala is Brat. J.D. Vance There's a chance he's Dan Quayle meets Al Gore. JD Vance don't enhance. Trump don't want him no more. But he's stuck with JD Vance. 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 He's stuck with JD Vance.
He's stuck with JD Vance. He's stuck with him.
He's stuck with him.
I think he's probably rethinking the choice.
Chunk,
excellent job as usual on the animation.
All right, let's get to our guest.
Okay, our guest is the editor-at-large for Philadelphia Magazine. He's the president of the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists. He's the host of the podcast Ernestly Speaking and the author of the book The Case for Cancel Culture, Mr. Ernest Owens. Welcome to the 5-8. How are you?
How are you? Awesome. I wanted to just also share my new role as actually political writer at large for Philly Mag. And I'm also now a executive advisor for a really cool political platform called The Download Philly, which is basically a new online platform that is engaging Black, millennial, and Gen Z Philadelphians around election season.
Oh my God.
It's going to be super awesome. It's just launched, and you all can check it out online. We're on social media, we're on Instagram, we're everywhere.
Okay, we're going to make sure we post that up for everybody so that everyone can get follow you immediately and get involved in everything
Totally.
that you're showing some great leadership in. That'd be wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I saw you watching all the stuff. So do you have any, before we get into your questions, do you have anything to say about the things that we were just talking about that you wanted to raise your hand and talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you all about just the invigoration of this election. There has been, it just feels like a boost. Like, I just feel like it's almost like the last couple of months didn't even matter. It just feels like it's a brand new election. And I think it was timely. I think Biden did something that I didn't even expect him to do, because I was riding with Biden regardless.
Yeah.
And I think many Americans, were no one really moved out to the debate. And I kept telling people that, like, everyone was like, oh, the debate did this, the debate did that. And I was like, but it didn't change anyone's minds. I think it was a lot of it's that thing where Democrats always have this thing where they're super panicky. And so they're always worried about the optics and how things look rather than what things are. And in reality, while we can all admit that it wasn't a great debate performance, if they said, raise your hand, are you voting for Trump or Biden? I don't think anybody was like, I'm changing my mind about this debate. I'm going to ignore 3.5 years of Biden's, work to just completely flip over one bad debate performance. So I just felt like at the end of the day, it was Biden made the decision based on what needed to happen. And the reality is that once he got behind Kamala, the VP, everything changed because there was a jolt of money. And I even argued in my podcast last week that sadly, money runs and has an influence on politics that's just so disgusting across both sides, that he made the right call for the optics of it all, even though we, the voters, were still going to show up. But clearly donors, poured that money, and everybody woke up and found millions of dollars that, maybe if they would have showed a little bit of money in that last month where there was the numbers that showed that Trump had a higher amount of money in that last month. But that was the first time he did that this entire election season. Biden was doing pretty well for the entire time when it came to fundraising. So again, one bad month made everyone just flip. But here we are. And now we don't have to have the conversation about age anymore, because the oldest person running for president is on the other side. So we can now move on from that. Now what? Now what? That's what I've been telling people. Now what? Now what? Because if the whole argument was age and performance and all this, now what?
Yeah. Now what is so take us through, like you mentioned, you were with Biden, as we were very vociferously on our show. Take us through your emotions, from Sunday going into the thing. Did you feel similarly to how we felt, or what was your emotional state like, your roller coaster ride, or was it?
So what was funny was I was actually coming back from Delaware. I spent my weekend in Delaware, in Wilmington. And I was on a mini vacation with my husband, and we're coming back from this cute little mini vacation because we live in Philly. And I'm on my way back. And my friends are texting me like, he did it. He dropped out. I'm like, stop playing. Because I'm like, what's going on? And I'm looking like, it's a Sunday afternoon. Like, who does this on a Sunday? What are you talking about? Like, because I was waiting and I was like, if it doesn't happen by Saturday, like, it's not happening Sunday. So I was telling people, I already had my mind for my podcast because I record my podcast on Sunday evenings right before the week. And so I already had this whole, speech out like, guys, it's time to move on past the Biden dropout. It didn't happen. Let's focus. And then, and I had to completely change things. So then my mind, when I first heard the announcement, I was just like, this weirdness of like, are we gonna have this annoying DNC? It's about to be a shit show. Like I was really getting on the emotions like, oh my goodness, what the hell now? And then right when I was looking, I remember, because I'm a contributor at the Daily Beast, I remember Daily Beast quickly put a graphic and said, Biden drops out, doesn't back Kamala. And I'm like, damn, guys, like we're already coming with the, can we just, maybe he's going to. And then 15 minutes later, he endorses Kamala. And I'm just like, well, okay. And everything switched. I had a picture of Kamala that I took with her in the midterms. I was like, here she is. Going with Kamala, guys. We're here. And everybody was super excited. And we were just always ready. So then the next conversation I was having, like, okay, who's doing it? What we doing? What we doing? You got what you want. That was my attitude. My attitude was, and I was remembering people were like starting to have this stuff like, well, it could be other candidates. I said, no, beggars can't be choosers. You get one. Okay. You didn't want Biden, but you don't get to pick that too. No. We're going to do this 50-50. So I remember when it first happened, I think my first tweet after I shared that Biden's announcement on Twitter, I had said, okay, so who's getting behind Kamala? Because we're not going to, I was like, we're not going to throw her under the bus now. And no one did. Once the endorsement came, it was almost like Avengers Assemble. Everyone woke up and was like,
it was.
Okay, we're going with her. And I was very happy about that push because it shut down a lot of the disunity. The whole point of Trump's RNC circus the week before was this whole charade around displaying and performing unity. I said, here's an opportunity for Democrats and smart people with common sense to show what it should have looked like last week.
Yeah.
And we did. I think we quickly did. I was so impressed. The first day it was Black women for Harris. And then everyone was like, well, what are Black men going to do? Which annoyed the hell out of me because we are the second most loyal voting base after Black women in the Democratic Party. So then next thing you know, there was Black men for Harris, 45 Black men. I was one of the people on this call and raised over $1.3 million. So then, I was like, okay, well, the Black people that did it, we always show up. Well, what are white people going to do? So then there was white women for Kamala and $8 million, 250,000 people on the Zoom broke records. I was like, okay, white guys, what are you going to do? And then it was white dudes for Kamala. They're going to have a call and thing coming up this upcoming week. So I was like, I've never in the history of covering politics and I'm 32, I'll be 33 in October, but I've been covering politics even when I was in college. Even in Obama era, I've never seen so rapidly diverse constituencies of people assemble like this behind someone and really make a crazy impact. Like we're putting our money, we're talking millions, we're talking thousands of people quickly just get on a call and raise this money. And these are small donor donations piling up. It's not, and I think the beautiful thing about that is that any of these wealthy donors, over $250 million have been raised apparently over the past couple of days. This is a sign of big donors and big money to say, okay, you might have pushed this president out, influenced his push out, but you're not going to choose the candidate. This is democracy. And everyone who's out here, some of these groups that are, disappointing of Black Lives Matter, talking about, we want more transparent elections. Well, we want some transparency with the millions of dollars you all had in your organization, but I'll leave that alone. It's just other things that we could be talking about right now. But I tell people, this is the most democratic way we could have done this.
Yeah.
Because my logic was when I was a primary voter this spring, I voted for Kamala and I voted for Biden. I voted for both of them. And my mind was, if Biden wasn't there, she's next. So it only makes sense that the next person who actually got voted on by primary voters or was on the ticket should next be able to transition to this position. And the fact that so many voters got behind her that fast showed to any donors, anybody who was questioning an open primary, this is the candidate that not only Biden wants, but the people want.
But and not Dean Phillips? You sure it's not Dean Phillips?
Who?
I think people were waiting with their money to figure out if he was going to drop out or not. I know not that I have any money, but I was like, there's no point in giving Biden money if he's going to leave in a week, you know. And I feel like once that happened, then people were like, boom, you know, we're in.
Everybody knew. I mean, that was the week. That was what I called the put up or shut up week.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for the put up or shut up week. I thought he wasn't going to do it. And I was like, well, we got to move on. And now that we have someone else, I think for everybody who talked all this stuff you were saying earlier about George Clooney's people, okay, you all created this new reality. Everyone needs to step up and go twice as hard, 4 times as hard now. Because we know what the optics are. We know what the opposition is. We know that this honeymoon phase that we're all experiencing for this current week and the next week or so is that it's going to get real. It's going to get rough. You know, the opposition is going to create a message that's going to be problematic, and everyone needs to be spirited and jolted and be ready to fight for democracy, not a dictator. And so that's where my enthusiasm is. That's what I've been observing. And I really feel good about things. I think I haven't seen this kind of excitement. You know, there's all these talks about enthusiasm in Biden. And I've always pushed back on enthusiasm on Biden because at the end of the day, in 2020, he was arguably the most popular U.S. president. He's had more actual votes for his presidency than any other presidential candidate of the modern era. So all this talk about enthusiasm, I'm like, again, this is the Democratic mindset. Does enthusiasm equates to actual votes? Or is it that people just are what I call competent voters, where do I need the razzle dazzle? I'm at a point where I kind of want boring presidents and boring leaders. I'm kind of tired of all these loud, charismatic people, to be honest. And I think Biden was a breath of fresh air because I think we had so much of that craziness of Trump and all this. You know, we kind of want a little bit more substance and not so much style. With Kamala, we're fortunate enough to get someone who just has a natural ability to be charismatic and competent, because oftentimes competency and charisma are not always aligned. And we haven't seen this, in my opinion, on a presidential stage since Obama, where you had someone that was as competent as charismatic. And I think she's that for us. And I'm excited about her. Super excited.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I wanted to ask you, just putting on the journalist hat for a second.
Yeah.
Especially political coverage. Because of how orchestrated, and I don't mean that journalists were on the phone with others and how can let's make sure we focus on age. It's almost like it's a train that went and no one knew what to do other than be on that train.
Right.
Because it just, momentum sweeps through journalism, and it's just, you know, and once it became punditry over substance.
Yeah.
Once it became style over substance. So what do you, I feel like the momentum is happening for her there too, that they're no longer just carrying, you know, the Republicans get on the phone with these media heads and they're like telling them what to say. And then they just, you know, they just parrot it. Right. They parrot it, and because it feels like that has juice and it keeps the conflict going and it keeps the clicks going and it keeps all that, the machine at work. But what are you seeing now? And what do you maybe can you kind of see coming down that before it gets to us, it's sort of cooking and brewing with where they're at with the narratives about Kamala?
I think the issue is that they're trying, it's like they're throwing a pasta on a fridge and trying to see if it sticks. They don't know what to do. They were not prepared for this. I don't think anyone was prepared for it.
Yeah.
I think they knew there could be a change, but I don't think they thought the Democrats were going to be that risky to do it.
Yeah.
And the fact that they did so, I mean, Biden is so strategic because we waited to see what the opposition looked like. We saw what JD Vance looked like. We saw what that looked like. We saw the problems, and they thought this through. And now there's speculation that Biden might replace JD Vance. We'll see. It's just, if he do that, that levels a lot of playing field, right? Because it impends competency that they're making about Biden, right? Well, what's the reason now? Why does JD have to leave? That's just a bad decision you made. You're just not a good decision maker. Like, Biden left because the argument was he made a diplomatic decision based on age and everything else. Okay, you picked this young guy who's supposed to be this rising star. So why are you letting him go? Because you're gonna admit that he's crazy when it comes to sex and gender, and he's nuts, and so now you're embarrassed. But if you throw him out, you might as well throw yourself out, because I've been calling him Trump Jr. He picked a splitting image of himself in a young version. He looked at himself in the mirror and said, I would have liked to look like that at 33. He looked at that man and said, that's who he wants to be. And so now you're realizing that that's not a good pair, that two of the same people are not going to work. Many JD Vance, who doesn't have the cultural capital, the money, the whiteness, and everything about him is kind of like, what's funny to me is that Donald Trump looked down on guys like JD. He looked down on dudes like that. And so it's almost intellectually dishonest to believe that he would now align himself with this guy, and we believe they have something in common. Because my fear initially is that I always said they were going to butt heads, but I didn't predict this. I thought what was going to happen was that JD Vance was going to be so good at performing Trump that Trump ego was going to implode, and he wasn't going to like the spotlight being stolen from him. What we've seen is that JD is so whack that it's embarrassing, and that what they thought JD was going to do, he's done the opposite. Because I think they thought he was going to pump up this base, and he's actually just very tone deaf, very boring, problematic, just cheesy. Like, his deliveries, you don't believe him. Like the Mountain Dew racist remark he made about, oh, Democrats think it's like so corny. And it's like, if I mean, look, I've seen, I'm trying to think who's charismatically bad. Like Roger Stone. Roger Stone has this gutsy, problematic energy that allows himself to engage Republicans.
Like a comic villain. He at least is a character. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, even,
JD's just Ohio DeSantis. He's just a dud. He's a dud.
Yeah.
My term for them, Ernest, is artless goobers.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But it's bad. And so I think he thought that JD was going to amplify in a more cool, hipper, younger way his message, because Trump now rambles like crazy. And so I thought that maybe JD was going to be a cooler version of Trump, because Trump is slipping off. And to your point earlier, you brought up about media and this. The one thing that upsetted me most about the obsession over Biden's age and performance was that, we talk about fair and balance, all these things in journalism, these terms, which people have just kind of thrown out the window at this point. But I would have liked for people to also really talk about Donald Trump's performance.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the video with him and Netanyahu, and he can't even shake the guy's hand. He's walking. He doesn't look like he knows where he's going. He seems out of it. He can't stay on script. I think his team has been trying to actually, I don't even think anyone's realizing it, but his team is trying to manage him. It's almost like Weekend at Bernie's. And it's like, sit here, shut up, read the script, act like a president, act like an adult, act your age, say these things, and shut up, right? And he rambles. I mean, the RNC speech starts off good because, it's like everyone's sitting there like fingers crossed. It reminds me of how they were with Sarah Palin at the debate. They were sitting there like, don't screw this up. And Sarah Palin did pretty good because one thing about Sarah Palin was that when she had her note card, she did say, this is Sarah Palin without any notes or care to read notes. So he's going off the script. And the more he starts talking about all this stuff, it's like people are realizing, what is he talking about? And so I wish more people would have talked about how both of these men were performing and because let's be real, all these arguments about the polls saying that, people think Biden is too old. You know what the polls also said? That no, because I hated how people manipulate the polls.
Yeah.
The polls said that no one wants a rematch with both of these candidates. You could talk all day about how people didn't want Biden, but no one wanted either of them. Like, people would have preferred two different candidates running. Democrats answered that call. Republicans didn't. And so we consider the logic of the polls. That's telling us that. They want to talk about Biden and Kamala's got this whole thing. We still are ignoring, again, another fact that no one's paying attention to, that there is this plug of Nikki Haley supporters that have not left.
Yeah.
Left. And the one thing that stuck with me, because I live in Pennsylvania, right? A battleground state. And this was the most annoying thing that did not get this much coverage. In Pennsylvania, after 30 days of leaving the primary for Republican nomination, she is getting nearly 20% of the vote in an uncontested Republican primary in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about Biden this, but even though Biden had people that wanted to do the uncommitted was so low that no one even paid attention to that for Biden. But no one talked about how there was still this large contingency of voters in his own backyard who didn't vote for him, even though he was the only person on the ballot.
And Nikki Haley sucks. Like, it's not even like she's good. You know?
Yeah, she's not good.
She's awful. But no, she was the only other option. I think it was a protest vote in a sense.
That was a protest. So I'm telling myself what to do with those voters. They're still rallying behind her to the point that Nikki had to send out a cease and desist letter to there's a Nikki.
Well, they endorsed Kamala.
They endorsed Kamala, and so she had to send a cease and desist. And her supporters, because as Republicans, one thing about them, they don't have an allegiance to the party. They're now having allegiance to identities. So they don't even care about party loyalty over there. They're like, because look, these are the same people that he can't even get his own vice president because his supporters wanted to hang his previous vice president pick. So this is going to be potentially the third VP pick. Can the media talk about how Donald Trump is so unhinged that no one wants to work with him? Your whole cabinet won't endorse you. Most of your cabinet won't even back you for re-election. And you're about to throw your VP person under the bus. I mean, who wants to work with this man? And that's not getting enough coverage. While we keep talking about the Democrats and all this crap, can we even talk about the fact that while Kamala has a slew of several people that are vetting and interested in being her VP, I don't even know who really wanted it outside of poor little Tim Scott.
Marco Rubio also.
Rubio.
I think he's
Elise Stefanik wanted it bad.
Yeah.
You know what? I thought that for a year, I thought for a moment that he was going to match a woman to go match with Kamala.
Yeah.
And when he picked JD Vance, I was like, not that I'm a Republican strategist, but I was like, you're not going to gain anything there.
Nothing.
And
literally nothing.
And after an RNC where we was introduced to a family, we was introduced to pictures, it's almost like history is erased now. I mean, thank goodness the Democrats did this before the DNC, because we know that the photos that we see at that DNC are going to be it. That's going to be the calendar, the T-shirts, the brochures.
Yep.
I feel bad for merchandise that they've already put out there for JD Vance. Are we just going to keep scratching out names? Like, we're just going to keep replacing the name? It's going to be like,
I don't feel bad at all.
I don't. I'm being facetious.
But you are. But I see what you're. No, I mean, obviously, I take your point. It's they're in a pickle. They're in a real pickle, and I don't know that I want him to eject this guy.
I don't want him to.
I think I want Vance to stick around,
because we want this debate. We want this VP debate. It's funny because JD was ready for Kamala, but now Trump has to get him. Get Kamala.
He's not gonna, because he is already not gonna do it. He's already
he's claiming that he wants to wait. I think what it is that everybody wants to see who the VP. I personally think that we shouldn't be quick to say the debate's not going to happen.
Okay.
Because of two reasons. One, I think is because they need to see who this VP candidate is.
Yeah.
And publicity wise, if he does not, if he plans to sack his VP person, he's going to have to do the debate, because we don't know who the hell this person is. We still don't know who he is now with JD Vance, right? But if he plans to replace JD Vance, hypothetically, the debate will have to happen, because voters will need to know more, right? But again, we got to see who the VP pick is for Kamala to figure out what they're going to do. But the other thing is that if he decides not to do debate, every argument, every level of bring it on energy that he wants to have goes out the window.
Yep.
Because the narrative will become, and they should, and Democrats are already doing it, you're chicken, you're scared. Why are you afraid? You were scared about the first debate, but many people argued that said you performed better than Biden. So why would you not go against Kamala? If you think she's weaker than Biden, shouldn't this be a walk in the park? Why are you so scared? It would be completely, the whole argument would then mean that Kamala will get to run whatever narrative she wants about Trump, and Trump will not be able to combat it. And if the messaging, if Kamala's messaging sticks and she continues to rise in those polls, Trump would have to debate her if he does not want to potentially shift the narrative.
He might just quit.
No. Unless he just leaves the country like you said he's going to do.
I've been saying he's going to flee. If he does not win this election, he is running.
So if he loses, you say he's going to flee.
He's fleeing. He's fleeing.
Oh, absolutely.
If he can see that he's going to get crushed by a black woman.
Yeah.
Because in an election.
His arrogance is a black man with
he's going to, he'll find some reason to not have that happen. That's my prediction. I just don't think he can handle it.
We have a bet about it, because I don't think he's going to flee. I think he likes his omelet station at Mar-a-Lago, and he's a homebody, and he doesn't want to live in, like, you know, Dubai.
So do you think? So wait, do you think he's going to leave the race or leave the country? So because I can see. So I don't think his pride will allow him to leave the race. I just don't see that. I don't know.
He might try. He might. Who knows what the plan is? Clearly,
I think his pride won't allow him to.
Clearly, they have a plan, Ernest, because he's been saying things like, "You don't need to vote for me. I don't need my people to vote. This is all so cooked in. I'm gonna get the White House. You don't have to worry about it." It's kind of the vibe he's been putting out to. And what that says to me is, there's a plan. There's some kind of dark fucking plan, and God only knows what it is. Okay. So, it could just be a wild fantasy plan, right? But it's something that's informing him to say that. And it's not, it's like there's hints at things. And then if you pay attention to his weirdo thought leaders, in their disgusting. So sometimes I look at what their podcasts and what they're saying and the messaging that those folks are putting out, the Mike Flynn's of the world. There's all this there's going to be a Black Swan event, everybody, in October. So they're weaving a fantasy for their viewers and subscribers and his MAGA, people, and because those folks need fantasy. They're fabulous. They need that fantasy. They're living in that alternate reality. It could just be that, just keeping that.
Well, because it's a grift.
Money funnel going, because it's a grift. It's a grift. But it also could be they've got some weird shit going on that they're actually going to go ahead and do, like the plan that we all got to see that was supposed to be what happened on January 6th, but the crowd got out of control.
Yeah, I was going to say that I do think that there is part of me thinks that it's almost like a grift. He needs this money from the RNC to pay the legal stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
He needs to maintain it, and his family's invested. Everybody's eating off of this whole thing. I mean, the family is all in the RNC, all in this whole machine. And so I think to some extent he's keeping this alive for all of his cronies and supporters, because he can afford, or the perception is we think he can afford, to just exit without the lose. But think about all the other people a part of this orbit, this machine. Some people, even in local politics, I will say there are people that run for office because it's almost like a temporary job that keeps you fed, keeps you relevant, keeps you supported. Win or lose, you're still relevant. And even when he lost, Trump has stayed relevant for 4 years, in spite of his loss. And if he loses again, to your point, I could imagine him going away somewhere in obscurity if he can avoid it, if he can do it. But I feel like he also just feels at this point like he can't just leave. And I think there's a part of his arrogance that is hoping that racism and sexism prevails. And I think he's hoping for that. That's going to keep him in power. So it's
or are there something going on with what they're doing with their votes or I don't know, the post office. I don't know. And agree with all of that. When Kamala does win, because she's going to win, and if she appoints Letitia James as her AG, he's out of here faster than the farts that go through his diaper.
Yeah.
It's just, he's out.
I want her to be the VP, man. That's what I want. That would be so, because he would. Tish James. Trump would have a coronary. It would be over.
It struck out.
I agree. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think, to be realistic, in Pennsylvania, they're pushing Josh Shapiro.
I was going to ask you about him because it seems like it's not so great. But what's your take?
I live here. I've covered him. I've covered the local stuff. One thing about Pennsylvania, man, we love when we get a national camera on us. We show off. We put on our Sunday best and we make it look like everything is good here. Several things. I think this is going to be between Andy Beshear and Mark Kelly.
Okay.
And I've convinced myself that I know the case, because I always tell people you got to do several things to be a VP. You got to fill a void. You have to appeal to a certain demographic that your president does not do. And you have to be able to provide some what I call extra gems and jewels that are beyond just a state, right? I personally think that Pennsylvania can stay blue with all of the Democratic energy. We got Bob Casey, we got Fetterman, we got 2 Democratic senators. We have a popular governor, right? We have all this momentum here. I think we can keep Pennsylvania blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Without Shapiro becoming the VP.
Okay.
I believe that before the conversation. I believe that with Biden, without, I believe we can do that, period. So you got Kelly, right, who, his only con to me is the fact that there is some concerns with unions. Unions feel some type of way about him.
Yeah.
There's got going on. But here's a guy who we will keep a Democratic senator. We can keep Arizona blue, which we don't know right now where that will go, but we could definitely shore up Arizona and keep it blue. But we might be able to get another senator. We might have 2 Democratic senators in Arizona if things work out the right way. He's also a U.S. senator, so I do believe that him in that role, the transition from senator to VP, like Kamala, would be an easier transition, the same way that we saw Biden go from senator to VP. He knows the Senate, he knows D.C., he'll fit in pretty well.
Okay.
My issue with Shapiro is you've only been the governor for 2 years. So you haven't even done a full term. So the verdict is still out on all of the claims. You've done a couple of great things, but you can't really boast that much, right? You're too similar to Kamala. You was an AG. She was an AG. You were around the same age. I also feel like you have no DC Washington experience. So I don't know if you're going to be able to transition over there in that certain way. And I also kind of feel like based on knowing him, I don't know if he could really mesh and work with a Black woman above him. He's used to being the star all the time. This is a guy who's used to always being the top. I mean, there was an article that said that he only lost 1 election, and that was in high school. Well, I won my election for class president, and I was valedictorian. So, but he's lost several. He's won everything else. He was a state rep. He was an AG. He's always had it. And I'm going to say something that no one wants to talk about. I'm going to tell y'all a little Pennsylvania secret that is also a thing for me that's a little interesting. Shapiro did not have a competitive Democratic primary for governor.
Okay.
He, in many ways, like Kamala, but not like Kamala all the way. When we talk presidency, the party, the establishment, put him up, and there was no real smoke or competition. So he's never been tested in the primary the same way we see other Democratic primaries are. So there's a lot of potential skeletons and things we don't know about him that is coming out even now in the national, that I feel like he has not been fully vetted in the same way that other people have, because they've had competitive races. He doesn't really know what it feels like to have a real aggressive competitive race. His last race for a top seat like governor was kind of like easily done. And I mean, yes, he went against a Republican, but you went against a crazy Republican. Like you didn't go against a moderate Republican where it was an even fight where you had to move something. So he's not been battle tested in the way that I think he's ready for that national stage.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I have some real reservations about Shapiro. I don't think it's going to be Shapiro. And if I was in the room vetting him, I would say absolutely not. Great guy. Maybe in 4 years we'll see, but not today. I think it's a liability.
Yeah, I read a whole thread about there's 17 ways they can go after him. Starting with Gaza. You know, Kamala needs to make space between her policy and Joe's policy, which she started to do this week.
She has,
and he's not going to help with that.
I don't think that he would ever say anything. What Kamala said in that press conference this week, Shapiro would never say that.
Yeah,
he never. When you're comparing protesters of color to the KKK, when you're painting a
he did that. He did that.
He did.
Oh. I missed that.
When you're painting a broad stroke of protesters, like there was a situation I covered. There was a protest that happened in Philadelphia with a restaurant, and he made a broad stroke and called it anti-Semitism and called all these people anti-Semitic and painted this brush. And it was like, if you can't have nuance, if you can't hold nuance, he lacks nuance. He says what is going to make donors and higher level powers that be. He doesn't have the nuance and the complexity to understand these issues the way that Kamala do. And I think he would be a liability to her with the way that she's trying to resolve these issues.
Okay. Thank you for that.
I agree. I think,
thank you,
to your point, it's good. Mark Kelly is also, to your point, Ernest, he's, his wife is also famous.
Yes.
And a politician and all that. And he's cool with that. You know what I mean? He's not trying to upstage her.
He's
a fucking astronaut, for God's sake. People know who he is.
He can work with women with power. He knows the spotlight. He just gives me ready, And Arizona, I mean, there's possibilities with Arizona. We could turn Arizona into a Georgia situation potentially. We could turn Arizona to a Pennsylvania position.
That would be amazing. And they should just run, if she does pick him, they should run that video of him on the space station, surprising everybody coming out in a gorilla suit.
That's right.
And on a loop, because there's nothing wrong with having, I don't want to be, it's not that I want to be entertained. Yeah. I just like knowing that real people with the ability to have a sense of humor. There's something so wrong about Trump and Donald and JD Vance. Clearly, there's just something so wrong. They don't have a sense of humor. Cruelty is not. I understand that Alon finds it funny, but I mean, we're going to get into this in the next thing. It's not. It's actually not. It's not coming from a place of to be a funny person, to be able to have any kind of humor that other people react to. It's genuine. There's an intellectual depth to that, and an emotional and a spiritual depth to it. It's why the comic writers I used to all the time, and I am again writing, be a screenwriter, and the comedians are the smartest. They're the smartest. Yeah. You can bring in and they're often personally kind of a little bit dark, right? But they have that depth. They're able to go down, find a commonality between people because they listen, they understand humanity, they understand people, and they can strike those notes. For someone to not have a sense of humor, to only have cruelty, it's a beyond a tell. It's like those are not the people that should ever have power over others.
No,
because it's just going to be sadism.
I think so. And I think also too, with Andy Bashir, I like him. I think he's been fun. I think he is the number 2 on my list. If I was to rank them, I would put Mark Kelly and Andy Bashir. I think Andy Bashir is young, fresh, could get some. I mean, people wonder whether he can get Kentucky or not, but he will bring some Midwestern energy. And if JD Vance and him had a debate, it would be perfect. I mean, because he is the antithesis of the whole Appalachian, identity that JD Vance is trying to
call that out.
He can call that out and show that voters in the Midwest in those areas can be progressive, can change. He's a 2-term governor.
He has executive experience. I like the executive experience, Ernest.
It cuts at Shapiro. It cuts at the Shapiro thing real fast. And he's in a state that could potentially change colors. And there's a possibility there. So I just feel like my top 2 is them. I just don't see Shapiro. And in Pennsylvania right now, everyone's coming out trying to shove Shapiro down our throats. And I'm just like, I'm also worried about Pennsylvania. If he leaves, I don't really know who can replace him right now and can get enough Democratic voters and middle of the road voters, because he's such a consensus candidate that I don't know if there's another consensus candidate like him that can replace him right now. His lieutenant governor is Austin Davis, 33 years old, black man, great family guy, like him to death. But I feel like it would do a disservice to the state and to the Commonwealth to put a 33-year-old up for that, or usurp him and put someone else that we may not have statewide support. So it's going to be a very interesting time. But I just feel like Pennsylvania is going to be blue regardless of him, whether he goes or not. I think Arizona is the most interesting state that has potential. Georgia potential, Pennsylvania potential. And with someone like Mark Kelly, is charismatic, with a wonderful wife that loves the campaign, equally charismatic. Because I just want to say that the people we're naming, their wives are not as visible or as relevant. Like I would say in Pennsylvania, the first lady of Pennsylvania, nice woman, but she's not very much in the public conversation and just isn't, and that's not a bad thing or a good thing. She's focused on her family and work and things. That's not a bad thing at all. It's just that this is a big spotlight. And I think it'll be easier for Mark to easily go, been vetted. His wife has been vetted. They're so ready for that seat. They're ready. I don't ever have to second guess and wonder about them. They're ready.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my pick. I think
it's a great pitch. You make a great pitch.
No matter who it is, I think all they need to do when they debate JD Vance is roll out a couch and sit on it.
And all three of them.
I would not sit on a couch anywhere near JD Vance.
Can't sit on a couch.
I gotta guard my couches around him. He's sectional assault. Sectional
assault.
Sectional assault. I like it.
I do think that what's interesting about it is, even though you do see some of the outlets, the traditional news outlets, noting this because it's been this social media sensation. But what's wonderful is we don't need them weighing in any way, shape, or form in order for it to continue. It has not abated. Just like Joe Biden's old hasn't abated, this couch has not abated. It's just getting worse for him. And I don't want Donald to eject him. He's
no, keep him.
He is a big liability.
Like he didn't tell us to keep, Biden. He was all day. He's eating up his words. Karma is catching up to him very fast.
That's right.
Karma is very. You know what's weird? I was talking to my mom about this, but it was just like, I haven't seen someone lose goodwill so fast.
Yeah.
Like the rate to which, it's almost like a bankruptcy on good. He can't keep anything good. He can't keep his money. He can't keep anything. The fortune. It's crazy how he had this horrible situation. The assassination attempt was just horrible, and it put everybody. It was a sobering moment, for everybody to say, okay, this is getting real. And then quickly within 48 hours, whatever ounce or whatever moment that everybody was on pause, it just evaporated. Like he just threw the goodwill out. It was just like you can't even process
because he's
that's how
he's a dud, and and he bankrupted him. The only thing Trump bankrupted faster than his VP, like picking a VP, was his casinos. It's that whole everything Trump touches dies. This thing was already dead. It was a dead fish. And no one knew it because no one paid attention to it. And so all we had to do was see it flap around a little bit, right? And then die in front of us. And it was like, okay, that's that guy. So, but his sons love JD Vance.
Peter Thiel and Elon Musk loved it. Yeah.
And Elon Musk loved him.
Almost 2025 guys.
That takes us into into the next thing we're going to talk about.
Okay, now we got to put the timer on.
Okay. All right. So, are you sticking around, Ernest? You want to stick around?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So this we're in regular segments where we put on a timer.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll just talk all night long.
I know.
So this is what we do. This is what we do. All right. So I have this section, the hysterical vibes, right? Because, and I kind of just wanted to talk about Alon as a example, a bellwether for the rest of the Trump world, right? In that he's immediately was like, and Greg made a good point. This 45 million a week or a month or whatever the hell he said he was going to pay.
He lies.
Bullshit from day one because he lies like Trump lies. They're just they make up. They're fabulous. They make up shit about themselves and the world and what's happening, and they just lie. So, but he was. The video of him and that, like, he's like, I didn't do that and I don't want anything to do that, and he's like saying, and it was like, I got to get away from this. So the one thing that these artless goobers that end up with billions of dollars and lots of power, because whatever it is, whatever their narcissistic injury is when they were young, got honed in on this sort of like, if I just have all the money or all the attention, then somehow it's going to heal that wound. That is my psychological analysis of these men. But I'm sorry, I know that I'm correct in this. Yeah. And there's nothing to heal the sensation for them because of the narcissism of the rejection and the rejection that they got socially from the other children around them, maybe their parents. You know, it's a chemical thing. It's like they were sort of like, ew. Right? That's what I just call them. Like they're the ooh people. I'm not advocating bullying or anything like that. I'm just saying there's something about a psychopath that you can sense. There's also something about a psychopath that knows that other people sense this about them, and sociopaths, and they develop a skill set. Their brains, their neurology being so different, like great white sharks scenting blood. Right? So they can't quite figure out how to get accepted. Here's Elon Musk got all this money. He wooed progressives in California with his Tesla stuff. And he was odd, but you know, he went right for like Norman Lear. That was the first person he's like, I'm going to get this guy to like me. Right. And all this when he was doing it, and everyone's like, oh, he's a genius. And oh, the electric cars. And oh, he's going to save the planet. And, oh, in that era where he got elevated, right, and lifted up. He went after those people who he could identify. Well, these are kind of the cool people. These are the Obama people. These are the artists. This is, you know, Hollywood. This is, I'm going to get in there with these folks and they're going to accept me. And that's somehow going to satisfy him on some level. Now, because it really is just being about sitting at the cool kids table for these children that are walking around as grown-ass men and are sociopaths or psychopaths. The same for Donald. He wanted Manhattan to accept him. You know, it's all just about being accepted by a part of society that they know innately is rejecting them because they don't have any talent, because they're sadists, because there's something wrong. Something wrong. So like Kamala's campaign is putting out, there's something wrong. JD Vance is a creep. It's weird. These are weird people.
They're weirdos.
They're weirdos.
Weirdo is the word.
I talk about this in my book slightly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because
well, I want to pivot to you. I want to just put this in. I want to put this in your lap. I'm dropping this in your lap. Dropping this in your lap. So I watched Elon with that and I saw it. I was like, oh, this is more important than the money. The troll culture that came around Donald and Don Jr. brought them in. This cruelty is the point. Ha ha ha! Isn't it so funny? Oh my God, we finally are controlling the culture and we're finally cool. But it's trolling and it's sadism. It's cruelty. Just like we learned with the Nazis, it's got about a 4-year run to it, and then it burns out. It's a fad. And the people who engage in that and got all the kind of power and attention from that don't know that they're in a fad. Elon thought his day had finally come. He thought he was finally having his shining moment. But it was just a fad. It's over. It's not cool. And you're not accepted. And he knows it. And he's running scared.
Yeah.
This is it. You've shown us now. You can't go all in with these sadist trolls. You can't go all in with them. They won't last.
Right.
So
I would just say that thing.
this is the canceling. They're canceling themselves.
Well, yeah, but I would say honestly, what you're describing is just white supremacy, just branding another way.
Yeah.
This is a situation that we've known throughout history. Before Elon or whatever they want to do with technology, is a situation of white men who are, in this privileged white men, rich men with power, influence, whatever, that grew up in a society that made them feel like they were going to have the world. And then they get into a world where that's not the case. And so they're having a internal struggle with that reality. And for those who have the most power, the most money, the most privilege, they typically show their ass more than others who don't, because they are entitled. And this is a sense of entitlement. And so Donald Trump enabled a world in which these people thought that they were going to have that again. And since Donald Trump has left, once again, they're having to rectify with the reality of, oh, snap, I'm going to get checked, right? And so the word they would call it was council culture. They call it all these things. But really what it is accountability. And so these are men rectifying that their day is going to come again, that accountability is going to come again. They can't skip the line again. They can't cheat people over again. And while they used to brand it differently. It was meritocracy. It was survival of the fittest. It was being a killer. That was the logic they were fed to believe that. But now they're seeing a world that consistently reminds them that they're not all that they were lied to, that they're not superior, that they're not more inferior, and they're not more superior to any other group of people, that in reality, there's other people that are smarter than them, work harder than them, and it's going to be so good that they're going to outrank them in power and strength. And that fears them. And all of the things that make them feel this way isn't because they were necessarily bullied when they were little, but because they are also living in a world where they're consistently being reminded that there are more outstanding people in the world than them, and they can't even justify themselves. So they're having an identity crisis is what this is. This is an identity crisis, point blank, period. I mean, the meanness, the cruelness, that's inherent, right? But how they're reacting and responding is to the fact that they have an identity crisis, that in a world in which they were taught that women were second, there is a woman, a Black woman, a woman who's attractive, a woman who is smart, a woman that can be all of the things that they told us they couldn't all be. That you could be attractive, that you could be Black, that you could be a woman, that you can be
brilliant,
smart, that you could be brilliant, that you could be
joyful,
you could be all these things.
Yeah.
And that this person is going to get something that they want. And heaven forbids that in their mind that this woman is going to beat a man that we for 30 years and the rest of the world said a woman like that can never beat a man like that, and it might happen. And what does that say for the rest of society?
Perfect timing.
Yeah,
perfect timing. They're like once she gets into the White House, we're not going to have a male president again for a while.
No.
I'm just saying it right now. We're, everyone's going to be like, oh, why didn't we do this years ago?
I want more of that.
Yeah, let's keep this going.
Philadelphia had its first woman mayor, and now there are other women thinking about their time in the next 8 years. The 100th mayor of Philadelphia is a woman, and it's a Black woman, shockingly. And I always tease Pennsylvania and Philadelphia because they always talk about how progressive they are. But what's funny is that, I was born in Chicago, but I grew up in Houston. I said, look, we've had a lesbian mayor before you all had an openly gay city council person. The first openly gay city council person in Philadelphia got elected last year, along with the first mayor, female mayor in Philadelphia. So I sometimes, tell people, progress is relative. Progress is relative. But to your point, though, Greg, is that now everyone's like, who's the next woman next? Like, no one's even thinking about men. It's been 99 men. We've done that, and I think that's the fear, is that once you put a woman in a powerful position, because I look at Nikki Haley, like a Republican woman finally thought she could do it because she saw Kamala do it. And no one's talking about the fact of, and this is just a thought out loud, but the fact that Indian women have been a constant theme in all of this. Haley, JD Vance's wife, Kamala Harris, who's, you know, part South Asian, that Indian women, brown women, in their various intersections are a common theme in this conversation. I think that's, you know, I'm waiting for that article, that journalist. I don't know if it can be me, maybe, who knows, but who's going to make that connect the dots, though, because for all the talk about immigration and immigrants, you have people who are coming from families that are immigrants. Like Nikki Haley's family, her father was a professor at a historically Black college, an HBCU. But yet she's having these conversations about affirmative action. And so it's like, what are you talking about? Your father couldn't even get a job in a lot of these predominantly white institutions, regardless of how smart he was. And yet you're over here talking about other institutions and talking about race as if it doesn't matter. It's like, it's preposterous. And the hypocrisy is real. And there was the whole conversation about, what about blacks for Trump? What about Tim Scott? Now that they're calling him calling Kamala a DI hire. So it's almost like, well, will they call Nikki Haley a DI hire if Trump, because if Trump replaces JD Vance, the only person I can think of for the job would be Nikki Haley. And now the DEI, the racism, is now on the ticket. Now you can't even touch that. Now, like, how do you justify it? Because the racism is what also kept Nikki Haley from being elected. I mean, did you see the Ann Coulter at the conference?
I did.
And she told Vermouth, she was like, I can't think of you as president because you're not an American natural. It was some craziness, but it was racist, basically.
Yeah.
And she told him he could not be president in his face. And I said, how do you go up for a party where the leaders are telling you flat out that cannot be a president because of your origin? What about the meritocracy? What about the ideas? What about all that? Like, this is a party that literally just defended discrimination.
Yeah.
And so Nikki Haley would get a lot of that smoke. She would get a lot of that heat. The same energy. And that's why she's even defending, Republicans, as you know, have told their cabinet members. You see leaders of the House, the Speaker of the House, Johnson's telling his team in the closet, lay off for these racist jokes. If you have to tell your party to lay off the racist jokes so we won't look racist, that means your party is racist. That means that you have an issue with this. And it means, and the argument they keep saying is, there's many other things that attack Kamala on. I agree. They could argue about her without talking about her gender, her race. But the fact that they're resorting to that shows that there's not enough issues that they think is with her, that the fact that they're going straight for gender.
Or they can't get past it. They can't get past their issues, right? So
and they can't even
get
their issues. Either. Tim Scott don't even have a wife.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Did that engagement get called off?
Oh,
we don't know. We don't know. But the reality is that, I've heard from insiders that part of the reason why there was a hesitancy with even considering him is because they wanted someone to reflect those values.
Right.
Because think about the conversation now they're having about Kamala, like, oh, you're a career person, you have a family. All these conversations about childbirth and things. And I'm just like, but no other president before her gave birth either.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, like, why is there expectation for her to be a childbearing president when neither person before her in the role has ever been questioned about could they give birth?
Well, I think the other person that Donald might go for, just to wrap this segment up, because we're back to the VP thing, because it is the big thing hanging out there. Donald is gonna he might eject this guy, and Kamala hasn't chosen hers yet, right? So it's this huge looming thing that's probably going to absorb all of our attention next week.
Wait till August 7th. August 7th.
We've got some time, but not a lot. He might bring RFK on. That might happen, because I think if he feels like he can gain, not be fractured, because people are like, he does have some voters. Republican voters are like, I'm going to vote for RFK.
Right.
And so
everyone thought it was going to be Biden. They thought it was going to take over from. I was like, no, guys. Biden supporters are not going there. That's
no fucking way. No,
he's the Jill Stein.
Yeah.
He's the Jill Stein of this.
He's the Jill Stein.
Absolutely.
And he ate a dog. And so, but he's probably.
And he hang out with Epstein.
And he hung out with Epstein, but so did Trump. So
well, it puts them on the. But I have to push back here a little bit, okay? Because it's not going to be RFK Jr. that's the running mate. It's going to be JFK Jr. that's the running mate. That's what QAnon has told us, and that's what is going to come to pass because QAnon is never wrong.
I forgot about that. Those people.
I think that's a good theory. My only concern is that possibly, but at this point,
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work, but he can't win. See, the problem is that we just keep getting too crazy on the ticket. I think the reason why he worked the first time is because there was a logic of if you put Pence, Pence was a smart candidate for him because you was going to get this yin and this yang, right? And I think the logic in 2016, when I was covering that race, I remember people who were saying that were Trump supporters in Pennsylvania. They were like, well, yeah, Trump's crazy. He's got his moments. They were like, he's got his moments, but Pence will mellow him out. Pence will get him on track because Pence is this senator. He's this blah, blah, blah. He's got this experience. He'll tame him down. Now, the argument goes out the window. Who can tame Trump? And the answer is nobody. And anybody that could has left the room.
Yeah, long ago.
And so if you put another unhinged person with another unhinged person, if I was live, if the next option was RFK, you might as well keep JD Vance. You might as well keep JD because now you got two old grumpy men, two old men yelling from the sky, two men with conspiracy theories, and neither of them have prestigious degrees that they've rightfully earned. I don't know what the appeal is. Even his family's not supporting him.
Yeah.
So the ads are going to be fun where they're going to keep showing me because I remember Biden brought out a member of the Kennedy family in Philadelphia that came and supported him. And so
I'm Rory? Like, who did he bring out? No, it was
I know it was a woman. I forget which one, but
Carolyn.
I can see them coming out there, and I think it was Carolyn. I can see them bringing the family out more, and everybody bound. And you bring out Mary Trump, so all the families are coming out, being like, "We don't."
That's fun. I would enjoy that.
I would enjoy it too.
It's not gonna happen.
We got to move along. Before we move along and say goodbye, tell us a little bit. You showed us your book. Tell us a little bit about the book because I'm interested in the case for cancel culture.
It's fascinating. So it's been since this entire week, it's been climbing up the charts in Amazon. The book came out last February. It's my first debut book. Will not be my last book. It's
good.
I'm already working on B2, I call it. But this book has been fascinating. I have an audio book, and it's narrated by me. So if you like the way I sound, I read my book, and I wrote my book, which I love both. But it's argument about cancel culture. For a long time, I was frustrated as a millennial seeing this conversation around cancel culture being dominated by Republicans that keep saying the left is canceling. I'm just like, you guys are banning books though. So I'm confused. Like you guys are banning books. You guys are banning, you are the kings of cancel culture. I remember the days of remembering about Jerry Orfield and the whole conversation about Hustler magazine. Like you all have been in support of censorship. But then I got a little bit more nuanced and I realized that the cancel culture argument that we're having, we've seen for years, is really not a conversation that is blue and red. It's a conversation about power. And I realized that powerful people, what is the thing that Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Dave Chappelle, comedians all have in common? They all hate cancel culture. And I realized, do they hate cancel culture? Or what is it they hate? And it was accountability. And so this book starts from Adam and Eve, and then we end with Lil Baby when he got canceled, that rapper, and talk about the ongoing history and how cancel culture is really a fight about democracy. It's a fight about power and who gets power. And so I break down how conservatives cancel, how progressives cancel, how cancel culture is really about power and democracy and resetting the room. And it's a very fun book. And that's why I made the cover purple, because I wanted people to realize that everybody's counseling, and it's not a bad thing because we got to recognize what the motives are. So one of the big takeaways from my book is that I look at cancel culture as a tool. I look at it as a democratic tool. And like any tool, it gets weaponized. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's basically, I define cancel culture as when a person cancels a person, place, or thing that they believe goes against their way of life. So it's not about taste. So if you say, I don't like that movie, you know, you'll hear people say, they're trying to cancel my movie. No, your movie just wasn't good, Kevin Hart. You're not funny. That's not cancel culture, right? That's just taste. But if I said, I don't want to watch this Kevin Hart movie because he has a history of making homophobic jokes, that's cancel culture. And there's no shame. In my book, I don't treat the action as the shame. I question the person who do it. So in history, we've seen people do cancel culture right.
Yeah.
We've seen the Me Too movement cancel abusers and people who did horrible things in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But we've also seen people weaponize cancel culture. We've seen people who have basically banned books, and we've seen people try to ban the Teletubbies, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what it is. And so to me, it's a book less about the tool because it's democracy. Boycotts, we should boycott things. We should protest things. That's okay. But the reality is powerful people want to assault cancel culture because they want to shame in many ways the everyday people's ability to fight back. One of the biggest controversial points in my book, and I will stand by it through and through without telling too much of the book, is that I don't believe that everyday people get canceled. And I make a very strong argument about this because in my book, I argue that everyday people, right? People that are not public figures, celebrities, right? We are often governed by laws. We are the most law-abiding citizens in this country.
Yeah.
Wealthy billionaires, powerful celebrities, CEOs. I would argue that they are breaking laws and doing higher crimes and misdemeanors than everyday people. No one could have incited insurrection like Donald Trump. A regular person could have not done that, right? But most of us are, if we are quote unquote canceled, we're not really canceled because we actually hold ourselves accountable to the law. So I had a sibling, someone I was mentoring, and it was like, oh my goodness, I got suspended. I got canceled by my school. I said, hold on now. What did you do? I got in a fight. Okay. What did the school rules say? Oh, I can't fight. Okay. So you got a punishment. You was held accountable. You weren't canceled. There was no protest. There was no boycott that said you must get suspended. You did the crime. You paid the time. Most people are accountable like that. But powerful people, what do you do when the CEO is the one who makes the rules? What do you do with the top bosses and billionaires who think they're above the law? How do we hold them accountable? How do we cancel them and protest them? We do it with our democratic abilities. We vote them out. We organize. We do the things. And so I believe that the public can cancel Trump again. We can cancel him on November 5th. We can take ourselves to the ballot box. That's cancel culture.
I love it. I love
it.
Show us the cover again. Show us the cover again.
Yes, it's a great book. And it's everywhere on Books and Sold. You can get it online. You can get it on Amazon. There's a great sale on the book right now. Very affordable. You can also you can get the audiobook. It's out there. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's great. So.
Excellent. Ernest, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Please come back.
Oh, I will. Please.
Good.
I love
good. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
We're going to have you back.
We're going to have you back. Enjoy the weekend. Thanks again for joining us. We appreciate it. Ernest Owens, everybody.
Ernest Owens.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh.
That was great. He's great. I'm going to go read that book.
I love him.
I like the cancel culture. I'm interested in all of that.
Yeah. And I like the the focus.
Yeah, the focus is good.
The focus.
Once again, we've hewed
Really
to
good.
our 5 topics, 8 minutes. We're right
Oh
at
my
40 minute mark.
gosh.
Yeah.
All right.
We do have, it is time for announcements.
It's time for announcements. We're going to do an after hours. Are we doing an after hours?
We're doing
What are
after
we doing?
hours. The link is up. I put it up before. I put it in the community page. Everybody should be able to see it, I hope. That was it. Yeah, he was really good. Now, we do have a treat.
We do.
Do you have any other announcements before we get to the treat?
I don't. I mean, I don't. This week, I have no ability to see what is coming down the pike, even for myself. So I have nothing to announce that's coming other than we'll be on an after hours. That's it.
All right.
And please subscribe, join, become a member. If you're new and you're listening, you don't know how you can be in the after hours or get to the link. It's for members only. We make a tier that's really easy for everybody to enter in at. If you want that low level tier, we love it if you come in at the $5.99 a month. That's really supports us and helps us keep this show on, because it's just Greg and I and Donnie putting this show on every week for you guys, and we hope you appreciate it. So give us your love, send us your love. We would very much appreciate that, so we can keep talking about all of this great stuff as we go towards electing our first woman president. So excited about it.
Not the first of many.
I can't take it. I'm so excited about it.
I know.
Yeah, now, I really am.
Okay, so I think we're ready. Are we ready? I think we're ready. We have the treat is, I think I should just bring them on, because
we've done 100 episodes.
We've done 100 episodes.
This is our 100th episode guest to celebrate.
To celebrate, and the guest is the 45th president of these United States.
Oh my God!
I know, it's crazy, right?
I can't believe he agreed
to
come on this show. Let's see what he's doing.
I know, it's pretty crazy. I think he needs to be. He's coming out here.
Here he is. Oh my God! What's it coming out of his ear?
I think he's got. There's something coming out of the ear. Hello, Mr. Former President. How are you this evening?
I'm fine. You have to play my song. You have to listen to it the whole time. Can you hear it?
Not really. This is the Lee Greenwood song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't hear it that way. I almost feel like
fine.
Yeah, it's fine. So we were talking about you a lot on the show. Do you have any plans to replace JD Vance as vice president? And if so, who would you pick? What's going on with the vice president?
I'm sticking with JD Vance all the way. I told him, just forget about the couch. Sue the couch for defamation. Tell him that the couch is not your type. Yeah. You've never met the couch before. Deny.
Denied. So
you guys see Hulk Hogan the other day? It was pretty great.
We saw him tear his shirt off. It took me right back to the 80s. It was, very of the moment of you. You always seem to have your stubby little thumb on the pulse of what is happening in 25 years into this century that we're in, that never knew who Hulk Hogan was.
That's very true. Do you know I got shot?
You did not, but okay.
You did not get shot.
I got shot, and I put a bandage on my ear. But the bandage was a huge pillow, and everybody appreciated my pillow. And I thought, hey, who knows pillows better than anybody but Mike Pillow? And so I got Mike Pillow to make a pillow specifically for my ear, and then I had him shrunk. And now he's a tiny little man. He's stuck to my head, and he can't say hi because he's holding the pillow on my ear.
I think that's interesting. He looks sort of like the brainworm that was coming out of RFK Jr.'s head. I do have a question. I do have a question for you.
Fantastic job.
I do have a question for you. On the Access Hollywood tape, I know everybody knows the famous line about grab her by the, but right after that,
I didn't say that.
You did. We heard the tape of it. You did say that. But after that, pretty soon after that, you talk about, I can do the thing. I buy her furniture, you said.
Oh, yeah.
What does that have to do with JD Vance and the couch? Were you talking about couches? Like, what's the deal with that?
You have to move on furniture. Move on her like furniture. That's right.
Yeah.
He's of my, we know each other well. But like I said, he has to deny. I mean, it happens to the best of us, okay?
Oh.
Yeah. It's just locker room furniture docio or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we found out that he's into dolphins too, and you have a thing with sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta watch the sharks.
That's why I like him more, because dolphins attack sharks.
Because dolphins attack sharks. I think you might be right.
Yeah.
Donald.
So I'm sticking with Vance.
You're sticking with him because his dolphins that he's having his affairs with will come and get.
What do you think of Kid Rock?
What do I think of Kid Rock? Bob.
Sometimes it was Bob. Yeah.
He had more money than you growing up. You know that, right?
No.
You did.
Nobody did. Well, are you counting the money that I lost? That I inherited that I lost? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask you actually that I know some of the mobsters that you ratted out. Okay. So we know you ratted out Sammy the Bull, Gravano. And we know you ratted out Vashla Ivankov, right? Hand him over. Who are some of the other mobsters that don't know you ratted them out because they're kind of dumb?
This is totally off the record, right?
Yeah, totally off the record.
Off the record, on video, but off the record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit! This is on video.
No,
I've been on video this whole time.
nah.
No.
Now you're good.
So who else? Who else?
Do you know I got 100,000 people showing up for me in New Jersey?
They did.
They did not.
And 82,000 in South Carolina, and 68,000 in Alabama, and the Bronx. I have the best crowd size. Nobody ever talks about my crowd size. And then everybody talks about Kamala's crowd size, and it was just like 1,000 in a small stupid arena that looked like shit. But my crowd sizes are so much better.
When did you meet Hannibal Lecter, and how good of a friend is he?
I wish I met Hannibal Lecter.
Oh.
I think, the asylums, insane asylums, and all of the asylum seekers, they come from the same place.
From Arkham?
Yeah.
Okay. Batman let them out?
Fuck Batman.
That's the Batman.
That's interesting. Different movies, but that's okay.
Do you guys want to make a donation to my super PAC?
We do not. We do not.
Okay.
Do you take rubles? Never mind. I know that you do.
I totally do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
and Buttcoin.
And Buttcoin. Yeah.
What about couch coin? Is that a thing?
We could pay you in Depends. Would that help?
I've had so much shits ever since Kamala got in the race.
Oh.
I need lots of Depends, actually.
Yeah,
I am shitting my pants. This is off the record, right? Totally off the record.
This is off the record.
I'm losing my fucking mind. She's killing me. She is so much better than me in every way. Every way. This is off the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's Melania?
Who?
Yeah.
Is there going to be a wife number 4?
Oh yeah.
Never say never.
Yeah.
Part of the deal.
You gotta be careful with that 4th wife. They tend to slip things in your drinks and things like that.
Yeah. So do vice presidents, actually.
But I don't drink, so that's okay.
Yeah.
You drink. It doesn't have to be an alcoholic drink to slip something in it, Mr. President.
It could be McDonald's. It could be your diet.
I had lots of blood on my head. Lots of blood on my head. Did you see that?
I saw ketchup. I saw ketchup. Yeah.
Everybody say hi to Mike Lindell.
Hi, Mike Lindell.
Yeah,
okay, I think I need to go now. I have to go potty. It's
Okay,
another scared movie.
Mr. Former and never again president, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And don't forget to go to make a call to donation at 1-800-DonaldJTrump.com.
Okay.
555, just call and give me money. I need money and I need Depends. Okay, bye-bye.
We're going to get right on that. Goodbye, Mr. Former President.
Goodbye.
Oh, my goodness. How exciting that was, LB.
Well, I mean, it's us and Fox and Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does it. It's not just, I feel very honored that he came on our show.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if he really did come on the show? It just flashed. And you asked him about the mob? And
yeah, I asked him about the mob.
Yeah.
That would be great. I know what he knows. He knows what I know.
I know.
We
do have another guest. We have one last guest.
But all right, let's bring on.
Is he ready though? I don't know if he's ready.
I don't know if he's ready
because he's down here. I'm going to take the banner off. I'm going to hide the banner and go back to the comments. And he is ready. And it is our partner in all of this, LB. It is.
It's the one who's made 100 episodes possible.
AKA Mr. Chunk. How are you?
Donnie! He's having to change his voice. He's saying hello.
Yep.
Donnie,
I don't know.
You're on
the air, Donnie.
You're on the air, Donnie. I don't know.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing.
That was Chuck, everybody. Oh my God. I
think
can't
that was my
believe it.
favorite part.
That is
That was
so funny.
That was my favorite.
Oh, I hear a voice.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Yeah.
Now we can hear you. We can see you.
I know you had to change over. It was changing over. It was like an SNL where you had to change your guys. And
All right, there we go.
There we
Hi.
go.
There you
Hi.
are. How are you?
So sorry. I'm great. I knew one thing had to go completely wrong tonight.
No, it was fine. I would rather that go wrong than the Trump thing. Go wrong. Yeah. So okay, so we talk like every week for hours and hours, and you just like make one animation and are silent. So tell us stuff. What's on your mind? What do you have to tell us?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'm thrilled about everything that's happened last week. I really, once the whole thing happened, the whole rollout, I think that was done stellar, and everything that she's done since, and their PR team is top notch. So I am 100,000% on board with Kamala, and I was actually she was my favorite through the primaries of 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hold on.
You and I drinking
Yeah.
water.
No, this is Mr. Pibb.
You got Mr. Pibb going? No Mountain Dew?
Mm-mm.
Mountain Dew is racist. Come on.
Diet
I
sucks.
guess it is. Oh my God.
But no, let me tell you, I won't divulge names, but my mother happens to be she's been in leadership roles and has been in government. Because if I tell you, I just want to keep it safe, but someday maybe. But she's nobody famous, but here locally, she's been in some pretty powerful positions, and I've lived with that my whole life. A lot of women around me growing up and through businesses that I've worked at have just blown me away, and this couldn't have come fast enough. Honestly, we should have had generations worth of women leading our country. We'd be in a much different place.
Yes, we would.
Here.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah.
There's so many men like the two of you. There are. It's encouraging. I don't know. I do. Obviously, the culture has needed, our society, I don't want to use the word culture, our society has needed to progress. And Americans have drugged their feet more than the rest of the free world on this particular issue of women in leadership and our struggle around misogyny. But I do feel that there's so many men that are just not only very comfortable with powerful women and women in positions of leadership, but actually want it, genuinely are like, yes, this feels great for us as well. So I just appreciate you saying that.
And there's been so many people that I've worked with that have been passed up for promotions that have deserved to control the firms that I've worked at. And it's so disappointing, but they absolutely deserved it. And everything would have been, I know it would have been in a much better place. So many of the men that run the boys clubs and all that bullshit, and they perpetuate it and keep it going. And just because they think they have to, but that needs to be usurped so quickly. And I think this will help so much in terms of just, general hierarchical thought in businesses and government, all of it.
And I guarantee a lot of those men got where they got because they took the work of a woman that worked for them and took credit for it, or with them. So I hope that as like, we're gonna see a shift around all that as well. Because on the other side of, oh, she slept her way, whatever, the truth underneath that is, oh, she was great. She had a lot to offer. And the male authorities, in her place of work, just took it and ran with it as if it was their own. That's the thing that's actually happening. That's what that is. So having a woman president show her work to the world and have it be this extraordinary, exceptional work, hopefully empowers a lot of women in the workplace to just show their work, right? And it's mine and I own it. You don't get to just take it because you're a lazy man, and you want to keep everybody's jobs where they are and your job being at the top. So I think that there'll be a shift around all that too. There's so much of that. Every woman knows I'm telling the truth on that big time. I think a lot of men are, I don't think they'd be surprised by it, normal men. But it's not how they operate. It's not how you guys operate. And so you just be shocked at how many men operate that way. So that's going to be, I do predict that's a big shift that's coming too, is our work and we get acknowledged for it. And we don't have to hide behind a man in order to even have our work be shown like it was for centuries, or be appreciated. And we certainly don't have to just hand our work over and accept the lumps. We can be at the top of the leaderboard.
Yep.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It's going to normalize everything. It's going to normalize it in a way that we need it to be normalized, which is good. It's fucking embarrassing. Like Pakistan has had a woman leader, it's come on, Malaysia, let's get with the program, it's embarrassing.
It is.
Yeah.
It
as
is.
A nation.
And we have no excuse except, big guys have to be in charge. Tough men.
I don't know. Well, it's the second woman president, technically. Edith Wilson did run, Wilson was pretty much brain dead for the last 6-8 months of his. She basically didn't let anybody in or out and ran the entire country for that one time. But again, to your point, did not get credit for it.
No.
Yep.
I don't
think
know.
of how much harder they've worked to get where they are.
Yeah.
Than men.
Yeah.
Like I guarantee Kamala has had salaries far less than what she deserved.
Yeah, and have to outperform.
And still came out, excelling far and above. And I'm so excited for this.
It's
going to be great. I think, and I don't think the attacks are going to work. I just think the DEI thing, I just think it's stupid. I think people are over it. I really do. I feel like most people at this point don't want to, I just think that's how it is. That's what I've seen anyway. That's what I'd like to believe.
Yeah. I think there's too much enthusiasm all of a sudden that it's just going to be, what is it? Water on a duck's back, or just something that's just going to bounce right off of her.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to stick.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the Ginger Rogers line about Fred Astaire that she did, everything Fred Astaire did, but backwards and in heels.
That's right.
Yeah. It's a great line. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to give you kudos for the animation this week. I think, guys, you got to put that out. Can we put it out before we transition into the after hours, so that I think that thing will go.
Oh, the JD Vance. Yeah, it's ready to roll.
Vance.
It's ready to. I already have it on YouTube, so yes.
Okay.
I could do that.
I've probably played it like 20 times.
It's so funny.
It's so funny.
So have I. I love it so much.
It's so funny. So I have that larger account, so I can upload it. And then we can start tweeting it around.
That'll work.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do an after hours. Donnie, you want to come hang on the after hours?
Sure.
You're around? Okay. I will send you the link to do that. It is now almost 10 o'clock. Let's do like 10.
My.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
It'll be fun. We don't have to have a long after. We should.
It's not going to be long, just a little.
Let's say 10 minutes after 10, we will reconvene on the after hours. Everybody has their has the link. I hope it's on the main page of the community board, and it's just on the main YouTube page. Yeah, that's.
And we're
I might need a different link.
Yeah, I got to give you the link.
We got to get you a different link. We're so grateful for all of you out there in our community who have been here with us for 100 shows.
100 shows. 100 shows.
Woo! It's been really fun. I gotta say, I love working with you two guys. It's been
I need
a lot
another
of
hard
fun.
drive, I think.
Right.
Yeah, you definitely need another hard drive. You killed mine. Mine is dead. I can't even download anymore. But so I love the both of you. I love this community that has sort of rallied up. We feel you guys behind us, supporting us and each other. It's wonderful to watch you support each other. And I can say with glee this week.
Glee, damn it.
With glee, we are getting through this.